What do you do when the person who broke you walks back into your life and doesn't even recognize what he made? What happens when the woman he cheated with ends up needing you more than you ever needed him? And how does a woman go from lying on a bathroom floor believing she wasn't enough to becoming someone a room full of people look up to? Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll have every one of those answers. He looked right through me. The same man who once told me, 4 days before our wedding, that he couldn't marry someone who looked like me. He stood in the doorway of my own gym, and he had no idea it was me. For a second, I almost let him keep walking. But he was about to find out exactly who I was, and so was everyone else in that room. But to understand that moment, you need to go back, all the way back to the beginning, before I knew what he really thought of me, before I even knew what I thought of myself. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. I met Derek at a friend's birthday dinner. I remember laughing so hard that night my cheeks hurt, and I remember him watching me laugh like it was the best thing he'd seen all week. "You have the most contagious laugh I've ever heard," he told me, halfway through dessert. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? Nobody had ever said anything like that to me before, not like that, not with that much certainty in his voice. For the first few months, it really did feel like something out of a movie. He texted good morning every single day. He remembered small things, my coffee order, the name of my childhood dog, the fact that I hated when people chewed with their mouths open. He made me feel like I was being paid attention to for the first time in my life. I didn't see the cracks. Honestly, I don't think I wanted to. It didn't start with an insult. It never does. If it had, I think I would have left immediately. Instead, it started with a joke. We were at a restaurant, maybe 5 months in, and I was about to order the pasta I always got. He put his hand over mine before I could say it out loud. "Get the salad, babe. You'll feel so much lighter after," he said, smiling like it was a gift he was giving me. I laughed it off. I ordered the salad. A few weeks later, we ran into a woman from his office. She was thin, effortlessly put together, the kind of woman who looks good in anything. After she walked away, he said it so casually I almost missed it. "She's always so disciplined. I respect that in a person." I didn't say anything, but I remember going home that night and standing in front of my mirror for a long time, in a way I hadn't in years. It kept happening. Small comments, dressed up as concern, or humor, or love. "I just want you to be healthy," he'd say, when I reached for a second helping. "You'd be unstoppable if you just," he'd say, and never finish the sentence, letting my own imagination fill in the rest. I started skipping breakfast, not because I decided to. It just sort of happened. I started apologizing before I even ordered food in front of him. I started avoiding mirrors, avoiding photos, avoiding my own reflection in store windows. My cousin Jasmine noticed before I let myself notice. "Has he ever actually told you he loves your body? Or does he just tell you how to change it?" She asked me one night, over the phone. I got defensive. I told her she didn't understand him. I told her he was just trying to help me be my best self. I believed my own excuse more than I believed her question. Looking back now, I understand why I couldn't hear her. When someone chips away at you slowly enough, you stop noticing the pieces going missing. You just start thinking that's how you were always shaped. He proposed on a rooftop, string lights, a small crowd of our friends pretending not to watch. It was, on paper, perfect. "I've never met anyone who makes me want to be better," he said, on one knee. "Marry me." I said yes before he even finished the sentence. Everyone cheered. Someone cried. I remember feeling like the luckiest woman in that entire city. The next few weeks were dress fittings, seating charts, cake tastings. At one fitting, the seamstress pinned the dress at my waist, and Derek, standing off to the side scrolling his phone, glanced up and said, "They can take it in a little more, right?" Just to slim the silhouette. I told the seamstress no, that was fine as it was, but I remember the sting of it. I remember smiling through it in front of everyone in that room, because that's what I had learned to do by then. Jasmine came to one fitting. She didn't say much, but I caught her watching him the way you watch someone you don't trust, even when you can't prove why yet. 4 days before the wedding, I stopped by his apartment to drop off the last of the welcome bags for our out-of-town guests. I still had a key. I didn't think twice about using it. I heard her laugh before I saw them. I stood in that doorway for what felt like an entire lifetime, holding a bag of custom-labeled candles and mints, watching the man I was about to marry with a woman I had never met. Slimmer, effortless, exactly the kind of woman he used to point out to me in restaurants. "Derek," was all I managed to say. He didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. He looked annoyed, like I was the one interrupting something that made sense. "This isn't what you think," he said first. Then, when I didn't move, when I didn't cry, when I just stood there staring at him, he changed his story entirely. "You know this has been coming. I can't keep pretending I'm attracted to someone who looks like this. I tried, Willow. I really did. I want you to sit with that sentence for a second, the way I had to." He didn't say he made a mistake. He didn't say he was sorry. He blamed my body for his choice to betray me, 4 days before I was supposed to marry him. "The wedding's off," he said, like he was the one being brave for saying it. I found out later that he'd already told his own family the wedding wasn't happening. Before he ever told me, people had already known. People had already started making other plans, while I was still picking out shoes. I don't remember the drive home that night. I remember waking up on my bathroom floor the next morning, still in the same clothes, my phone buzzing with messages I didn't have the strength to read. For the next few weeks, I didn't leave my apartment much. I canceled things. I stopped answering calls. My mother came by twice, and I pretended I wasn't home the first time. The wedding dress stayed in my closet, still in the garment bag, because I couldn't bring myself to look at it, and I couldn't bring myself to get rid of it either. I kept replaying his words. Someone who looks like this. I had spent years slowly shrinking myself to be acceptable to him, and in the end, it was never going to be enough. It was never about a few pounds or a salad instead of pasta. It was about a man who needed someone to blame so he wouldn't have to admit what he'd done. I want to be honest with you here, because I think this part matters more than any of the glow-up that comes later. Falling apart the way I did wasn't weakness. It was grief. I was grieving the wedding, yes, but I was also grieving years of shrinking myself for someone who was never going to see me the way I deserved to be seen, no matter what size I was. Jasmine showed up on a Thursday. She didn't call first. She just used the spare key I'd given her years ago and let herself in. She didn't lecture me. She sat down on the floor next to me, in the same clothes I'd been wearing for 2 days, and she just stayed there for a long time before she said anything at all. "You are not fixing yourself for him," she finally said. "You're not even fixing yourself. You're just finally choosing yourself." I didn't understand that sentence right away. I think I needed to hear it more than once before it actually landed. But something about it cracked something open in me. Not all at once. Not dramatically. I didn't leap out of bed and become a different person the next morning. It started small. One walk around the block. Then a second one. A few days later, a therapist Jasmine recommended, who I almost canceled on 3 separate times before I finally went. I want to be clear about something, because it matters to me that you hear it exactly this way. I didn't start taking care of myself to become someone Derek would want back. I started because, for the first time in a long time, I wanted to know who I was when I wasn't shaping myself around someone else's comfort. The next year of my life looked like a lot of small, unglamorous choices. I started going on that walk every single day, rain or not. Eventually the walk became a jog. The jog became a gym membership I almost didn't use, until I did. I started cooking meals because I liked how it felt to take care of myself, not because I was punishing myself for anything. I changed my hair. I changed how I dressed, not to disappear anymore, but because I finally wanted to be seen. I went to therapy every single week, even on the weeks I didn't feel like talking. My body changed over that year, yes, but that was never the whole story. And I need you to hear this part clearly, because it's the whole reason I'm telling you this story at all. There is nothing wrong with a plus-size body. There never was. The only thing that was ever wrong was how one man made me feel about mine. I didn't lose weight to be loved by someone else. I did the work to finally love myself. And for me, in my own body, on my own terms, that meant getting stronger, moving more, feeling more at home in my own skin. For someone else, loving themselves might look completely different, and that is just as valid. Whatever is comfortable for you, whatever is healthy for you, that is the only version of this that matters. I started training a few friends who wanted help with their own fitness goals. Word spread. Within 2 years, I had saved enough and taken enough certifications to open a small gym of my own. I built it to be the opposite of every room that had ever made me feel small. No mirrors angled to make anyone feel judged. No comments about people's plates. Just people, working toward whatever version of strong felt right for them. 5 years passed. I had built a life I was proud of. A gym full of regulars who felt like family. A version of myself I didn't recognize from that woman on the bathroom floor. Not because I looked different, though I did, but because I finally felt like I belonged to myself. Then, on an ordinary Tuesday, the front door opened, and Derek walked in. He didn't recognize me at first. He was there with a friend, scouting gyms, glancing around the way people do when they're only half paying attention. I watched him for a second before he watched me. Then he did a double take. I watched it happen in real time, the confusion, then the disbelief, then something that looked almost like fear. "Willow?" he said, like he wasn't sure the word was even true. "Hi, Derek," I said. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. He laughed. That same charming laugh he used to use to smooth over everything. "Wow, you look incredible. I almost didn't recognize you." "I get that a lot," I said. He lingered after his friend left. He asked if I wanted to get coffee sometime, for old time's sake. He told me he'd thought about me over the years. He told me I looked amazing, like it was a compliment I owed him something for. "You didn't make me who I am," I told him. "You just showed me who I didn't want to keep being with, so thank you, honestly. But I'm not available. Not to you." I watched something in his face fall, and for the first time in years, it didn't feel like anything at all. Not satisfaction, not anger. Just quiet. Here's the part I didn't expect. A few weeks later, a new client walked into my gym for a consultation. Slimmer build, nervous smile, introduced herself as Kayla. It took me a moment to place her. She recognized me before I recognized her. "I think you might know my ex-husband," she said carefully. "Derek." I braced myself for something. Instead, what she told me over the next hour was a story I already knew the shape of, just with different details. The comments about her body that started small and never stayed small. The comparisons, the way she started shrinking herself in ways that had nothing to do with a number on a scale. "He did the same thing to you?" she asked me quietly. "He did," I said. We sat with that for a while. I realized then that she had never been my villain. She had just been the next woman he did this to, and in a strange way, we ended up helping each other heal from the exact same wound. She's been coming to the gym for months now, not to be smaller, just to feel strong. I think about that woman on the bathroom floor sometimes. I don't feel embarrassed for her anymore. I feel for her. She didn't know yet that none of it was her fault. So if you're watching this, and you've ever been made to feel small by someone who claimed to love you, I need you to hear this clearly. Your worth was never up for negotiation based on your size. Being plus size was never the problem. It never needed fixing. If you ever choose to change anything about yourself, let it be because you want to, on your own terms, in a way that's healthy and comfortable for you, never because someone convinced you that you were too much or not enough. I didn't get my glow up to prove him wrong. I got it because I finally chose myself. Everything else, that gym, that room full of people getting stronger every day, even the peace I felt looking him in the eye and walking away, that was just what happened once I did. So, back to those questions I asked you at the very beginning. What do you do when the person who broke you walks back into your life? You let him see exactly who you became without him. What happens when the woman he cheated with ends up needing you more than you ever needed him? You realize she was never your enemy. She was just further along the same road you were on. And how does a woman go from lying on a bathroom floor to becoming someone a room full of people look up to? One small choice at a time, made for no one but herself. If this story meant something to you, I'd love to hear which part hit you the hardest. Tell me in the comments below. And if you want to be here for the next story, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss one.